Welcome back to Manchester Lane Radio, the podcast of the Shore Store. I am Steele Saunders, and this podcast delves into the things that inspire our store on 11 Manchester Lane in the city. And this week, I'm stoked to finally have on from Itch Pig, Alex and Nate Orton. How you guys doing?
Good, man. Good.
Thanks for being on. And who else is, I shouldn't, I don't want to ostracize the podcast from the canine community. Who else have we got in there?
That's Tex.
Tex.
This is great. He's a bit heavy. It's hard to lift up.
Oh my God, collect them all.
Yeah, collect them all. Yeah.
Hey, so I'm doing a bit of research, right? We've been doing the brand for a little bit, and we're going to do this podcast. So I was watching your YouTube channel. There is this one episode, where there's 8, hey, I'm sure you're all great guys, but bungling fools trying to move this billiard table. It was the most anxious, there is a lot of anxiety-driven content on YouTube, but I managed to not watch it. But this billiard table thing, run us through what was going on.
It was heavy. It was really heavy. We didn't think about how heavy it was, and that with billiard tables there's slates underneath, and the slates are kind of they're in pieces. They're not connected. So as we were lifting it up, one slate would shift, and another slate plate would shift, and each slate plate's 50 kilos. So they're all shifting. They're all moving around. We had the younger guys up that end, and the older guys at that end, and the weight wasn't well dispersed. And it was just a nightmare. And we had to get it down. Cracking old stairs in the factory.
So,
wasn't a good time.
Did you guys get it up there yourselves, or was it there?
We got it up there in parts, and then we assembled it there, and we couldn't be bothered disassembling it and then taking it downstairs in parts and then putting it back together. So we tried to just carry it down as the legs separate from the top, but we should have just completely pulled everything apart.
We got it down though.
We did it.
We didn't completely mess the factory up. We did a pretty good job. The billiard table wasn't that scratched up. It could have been much worse. There was one point where it kind of got away from us a bit, but we managed.
I feel like there's a business metaphor in there.
Absolutely. DIY everything. That's exactly what it is.
I used to do a ton of stand-up comedy, right? And watching that video was why the pubs would never move the billiard table. When you say, "Oh, can we move the billiard table out of the way?" Nah, mate, nah. You just that was the one thing you could never alter. But wow, I was when you're glad you're not someone else. Do you know what I mean? I was just picturing you and the wood was cutting into your hand, and the stair was. It was just this is. I've done that in the airport where you're running late and everyone's looking at you, and you're the "I'm glad I'm not you" guy. It's just it's brutal. But in 2021, there'd be nothing I'd love more than to run late for a plane. That I just please give me an opportunity to run late for a plane. Hey, the other thing on your YouTube, Nate, I got to give you props. You are destroying the park.
What do you mean, with my hissy fits or actually skating?
Skating. I saw you drop a backside lip slide on the quarter, backtail shove. You are you're not settling into your older skateboarder generation. How's that been going?
Good. I learned kicky backtail the other day. I never thought I'd do that ever. I've never been better at skating than I am right now. It's insane. I'm kind of having this moment where I'm I should have gone a bit harder earlier, maybe. Whatever.
How old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay. All right. Could still be time.
But yeah.
But yes, very inspirational and almost dangerous for me to watch, because I'm oh, he's doing that. Should I, do just? I've got to contain. I've got to maintain to my my body level of commitment. Hey, let's run back. The first time I sort of became aware of Itch Pig, which is a brand out of the western suburbs of Melbourne, which has been going for about 10 years. But it probably would have been maybe halfway through that when at Shaw we have the big Boxing Day sale, and there's like a queue of people to get in. And I used to always stand at the door and live my dream of being a thuggish bouncer. And so the shop didn't get overloaded. And I remember one year it was just like so many kids were rocking this brand Itch Pig. And I love talking to find out what they were into, what they liked about the shop. And yeah, they just spoke about it so like happily and passionately that it's sort of like before knowing really anything about it, I was sort of like a fan that like these kids related to it like so positively. Do you know what I mean? But take us back to how you guys got going.
Oh, yeah, this is the start. That sewing, 2 years sewing up dead stock hoodies, purchasing dead stock blanks from local manufacturers around Melbourne, cutting them up and creating custom color blocked panel hoodies based off sporting culture that we'd seen international in America, based off sneaker culture, and just putting together sort of colorways that we grew up with. Even food and stuff like that, like just looking at like ice cream shops or whatever, and you put together an ice cream colorway or whatever.
So you'd buy like old hoodies, like old new stock from suppliers, and then like chop them into stripes or diagonals, or
so one of our first manufacturers who we still work with now just had a whole bunch of dead stock hoods from early 2000s that just colors that they couldn't move anymore.
Early 2000 hoods. Were there a lot of yellows?
Absolutely. I mean, all the colors we're all here are yellows, orange, reds, aquas, really bright royal blues, and
purples, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and we just sort of knew how to mix colors together and put the crazy colors with the neutrals and make blended colorways. And yeah, the manufacturers, they loved us because they could move all of their dead stock colors, and we loved it because we could sort of put them together into crazy paneled hoodies and crew necks that no one had really seen before.
And what sparked that idea to do that? Like, where did you get the genesis of that?
I think it was a fit thing. We were really heavy into snowboarding at the time, and the tall fit thing was really popular in snowboard culture at the time. And it was basically a way to make the garments taller. You chop it in half, you add this middle panel, you mix and match the bottoms and tops and middle to make these crazy colorways, and it made a kind of tall fit that suited our aesthetic and our body shape. And that's where we started. We started with colorway and fit, and that's kind of been the bedrock of the brand probably ever since, I would say.
Like, how many could you actually do at a time? And how you guys did it yourselves?
Yeah, there was a period there where, I mean, in that little 4x4 meter garage space, we were probably pumping out 30 or 40 a week at the best times. But, I mean, it quickly turned into us needing to get a team of outsourced machinists, and they would help us out with it. But, I mean, we probably made customs like this out of this garage space for about 2 years. Until it got a little bit too manic and we had to get into a factory in the West in Tottenham, and we hired a little team of machinists and we trained them how we wanted it done. And that's when things started picking up and you could go to doing hundreds a week. And that's when things sort of started cranking.
And how are you guys what platform are you selling them on? Because as far as I know, you weren't in other retail shops until kind of recent.
We actually didn't even have a website at the time, to be honest. We were just hustling on Facebook. I had a personal page, Facebook page that we converted into an Itch Pig personal Facebook page, and
it's just through inboxes and comment sections. We'd post photos of custom one-of-ones that you couldn't get your hands on because it was someone had ordered it for themselves. And when we posted that photo, it would spark the next 15 or 20 orders.
because everyone would want that same one, and we'd say, well, no, you can't have that same one because it was a one of one. You have to change this, or you have to change the sleeve color, you have to change the hoodie color, and that's what drove the social engagement then, because people would say a comment saying, how can I get this? And then we would hit the comment section saying, you can't get this, but you can do this. And then, that's how the engagement sort of started. And that's how we spread through the socials.
So people could choose their own color blocks?
Yep. It was all custom. It was all bespoke one-on-one stuff. We didn't make the same hoodie twice for, I think it was like 18 to 24 months or something like that.
Yeah.
We refused to do it.
That was a big driver of the ichi in the name, was ichi meaning one in Japanese.
Ah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it was me and Dave coming together as one. We used to get called pigs a lot when we were traveling in Japan in 2010 because we sort of just did everything and anything we sort of could to get by.
We were relentless. We were relentlessly hungry, just always. If there was a powder day, Alex and I were on the lift at 8 a.m. on the dot, and we were kind of sketching our way to get on that last lift, like begging the lifties to give us one more run, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'd rock up snowboard instructor lessons, just covered head to toe in snow, and the people would be like, "So this guy's going to teach me how to snowboard," and I'd just be like, "Yeah, I'm going to teach you how to get some." We were just like that.
I'm living the lifestyle, buddy. Don't worry about me. I was just out there. Because at Vans back in the 80s, you could go into a van shop in LA with a fabric and you come back like 3 days later and they'd have a pair of Vans for you, which I love that sort of stuff. Like anything that's not like paint by numbers sort of thing.
Yeah.
But how did you guys know how to do the stitching? Were you self-taught how to do the sewing and stuff like that?
Just through everything, through anything DIY. You do it enough times and you get better at it. First, we just made wardrobes of clothing for ourselves and then our friends. And then once we got good at it, we knew we could charge a premium and we knew what it was worth and we knew what each piece, we knew each value that each piece had through the time that was going into it. And eventually you just get good at stuff. Yeah, you do it long enough.
Alex has been pretty humble here. He was the brains here. He was the technician. He knew how to sew quite well. Like some of the stitching and some of the detail work that he hand embroidered on a machine, like by eye, it's insane. It's like I can't even describe it. It's insane. And then he taught me how to use the overlocker and the sewing machine. And so then I would kind of do the grunt work of like preparing the garments and stuff, getting the middle panel ready, overlocking up the sides, and then kind of overlocking the middle guts of it together. And then later I would overlock the arms together and the hoods. And we just learned, like at the start we couldn't even make hoods. And then we learned how to make a hoodie and make a template and then sew it into the crew neck. And it was all kinds of things, like and little things that you wouldn't even like think about, like when we snapped the needle on the overlocker or when we mucked up the thread on the overlocker. Like I remember spending 2 hours trying to figure out how to rethread an overlocker, and YouTube wasn't like what it is now. Like you couldn't just type in how to rethread Orient overlocker. You couldn't do that back then. I literally remember just sitting there for hours trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm glad you're a bit more honest about it, Nate, because when you were like, how do you know how DIY? And I'm like, am I weird that I didn't learn to sew in my yeah. So I'm glad you're actually acknowledging that it's a skill that I shouldn't know. Yeah. It's more about me than anything. I don't want to feel incompetent.
It's a skill you can learn and you can get better at it. You just, we were doing it a lot. Like we were doing it a hell of a lot. Like we spent a whole summer in that 4x4 factory just smashing out hoodies.
Not learning backtail, shove it out.
No. For months.
I was a shit skater back then.
So now the bitterness comes out about what held you back.
Absolutely.
We were good at snowboarding, but yeah, skating not so much.
There was a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah,
a lot of sacrifice in this brand.
Nate, it's better to own the brand than be sponsored by the brand. Trust me.
Yeah,
That's a fair point.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
The is like, because now you guys use like a lot of like factories around Melbourne and stuff.
Yeah.
Is like Alex having such skill in it, is that a blessing or a curse when you go around to check how the work's getting done?
It's okay. I can communicate with the head machinist, and I know how her brain works. And so as long as I can communicate with her, I know she can deliver the message to the rest of the machinists.
Yeah.
Because it is a pretty big operation now. It's not just 5 or 10 seamstress. You know, there's some of our factories have upwards of 40, 45 machinists. So as long as you can talk to the head machinist in charge, she can deliver the message that's needed for the production line to operate how it needs to. So I think just knowing the language and knowing everything about garment construction, it definitely helps the overall process for sure.
Yeah, the watching the videos of you go around to the factories and stuff, like I used to do a brand that like a lot of it was made in Melbourne. It was called Spire back sort of the 2000s, and there was such a romance of going to the factories and seeing the panels, and I didn't have that knowledge that you did. I sort of had someone working with me that did, but it's, from what I gather, it's pretty few and far between now in Melbourne, and maybe you guys are sort of holding the candle for everyone else.
Yeah, they're definitely dropping off faster than they're popping up, that's for sure. But the ones that are still here, you just really have to make sure you give them adequate work. And it's sort of up to us as a brand to give them achievable work. You can't go and deliver them 200 one-of-ones. It's just not how production works. So you need to be designing in accordance to the capabilities that the industry actually has here. And if you want to produce something new and innovative, it's up to you to train the machinists, and it's up to you to reteach a lot of the seamstress and a lot of the cutters how to produce garments like that. You can't just expect them to just know on the fly how to produce these garments, because it's just not like that anymore, unfortunately.
How, like, going from you guys as doing it and then sort of building up like a factory scenario, what sort of, like, to make those jumps from not mass producing, but like comparatively to one-of-one to maybe doing like 180, like, was that a hard decision to make, or would that sort of like flow pretty organically? Because I know like a lot of times brands, and especially ones run by partners with a lot of passion, like sometimes like those sort of growing pains can be difficult.
Yeah, it was hard.
I think it is hard. It's still hard.
Yeah.
I do have to say, for those just listening to the podcast, they just gave each other a slow turn to each other to see how that was going to get answered.
How are we gonna answer this one? Yeah. I mean, look, a part of us would probably love to still be in a 4x4 meter garage in, you know, the western suburbs, just making one hoodie, you know, every couple of hours and finish the day off with 4 or 5 hoods and be happy. But you know, the brand does have an underlying hunger for progression, and that sort of stems with me and Nate and our personalities. And unfortunately, the one-of-one culture, it's not really scalable. And we found that out in 2014, 2015, when we were just, you know, 50 custom hoodies a week turned into 100, turned into 150, turned into 200 one-of-ones every single week, week after week, winter on winter. And it was meltdown. It was absolutely meltdown. We had the factory set up like a restaurant, like a fast food outlet. We would have the sleeves pre-cut in all 15 colors, all 5 sizes separated out in tubs. We had the torsos separated. We had the hood panels over there. We had the pockets over there. We had the cords. We had the eyelets. We had everything separated out, and you would walk around in a circle and you would grab all the pieces you needed for the order. The order would say red sleeves, black hood, and you grab the pieces, and it was just like this, a circle all day. And it was mayhem.
Because I was just the logistics of getting a spreadsheet with those 200 colors sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it was hectic.
There was no spreadsheet. It was all in our head.
There was some years we'd rock up to like the old Sneaker Freaker events that were held at Port Melbourne at Globe.
Yeah.
There with like 150 custom one-of-one hoodies that we spent 2 or 3 weeks building and working. And we'd go there on the day and they would just all fly off. They'd be gone. There'd be people there that knew what colorways we'd posted throughout the week. They knew those colorways would be there. They knew what size they were in. They were like, yep, cool. That's the one I want. But there's only one of them, so you got to get there early. So, I mean, sometimes we'd like to go back to days like that, but I think we produce a far superior product now than what we did back then. That's for sure.
And we provide greater opportunities for more people. Like that type of model was so labor intensive and unfortunately not that profitable. Like it's profitable for me and Alex when it's just me, Alex, and a couple other staff because Alex and I just factor in our time as whatever.
Yeah.
Our time is X. But once you kind of have people relying on the brand for their living way of life. You got to think about it a bit differently. You got to start being a bit more savvy, and that was one of the hardest things. One of the biggest decisions the brand makes, but something that we pride ourselves on is our flexibility. Like cutting that custom thing out was like we basically removed our leg. Like that was one of the pillars of Itchpig. Getting rid of that was like we copped a lot of backlash over that too.
Yeah, it was a big risk, but we had to. As you get a little bit older, you have the need and you feel like you want to try to sustain more people than just yourself. And custom colorway panel hoodies sustained me and Nate for a good 4 years. But to try to sustain other people and other staff and fuel the industry more and further.
So where are you guys at now? You've got your store out in...
we're out in Brunswick now. So we moved our factory out to Brunswick, much closer to the manufacturing industry. So we've got a big factory space in Brunswick. That has a little factory store, a little showroom. What are you doing?
That's where that skate park is as well.
Yeah, skate park's there too.
Yeah. Well, I see that on Instagram all the time, and I'm still here stuck in LA. So I've got my lines working out. Do you know what I mean? What I can lay down there for that inevitable invite. You guys just.
Absolutely.
So you've just, as far as I know, just recently sort of gone into other retail stores like ours. Like, what was sort of like? I feel like that would have been a big decision because it changes sort of like a lot of the economics of how you operate.
Yeah, it's challenging. We'll be honest with you, like, probably shouldn't say this, but it's not like it's the biggest money-making exercise. It's, where, like, what it's like. We're making things here, and we're selling things at the same price or similar to a lot of other brands that you've got in that store, but those other brands are not making it for the same price. They're not paying people ethically. They're paying people, whatever it is, but it's not the same as us. So it's been tricky. But, it's like we feel like we wanted to be more involved in the culture, get the brand awareness out there a bit more. So we decided to do it. And, we're just kind of dabbling in it and seeing how it goes, I guess. But it is tricky. It's very tricky.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're tricking along. It's super cool to have, like, a local brand like yours that is like so like solid. You guys are so passionate about it. It's a cool thing for everyone. So yeah, I'm glad you're going with the trick. I'm glad you're going with the trick. But where do you guys? So is the store, like your store, the main like point of contact for the brand, or is it the web store? Or
it's definitely the online store.
Yeah.
We made the move in 2017 to become heavily focused online. There was a period there where we had a store in Chapel Street. We actually had a little pop-up in Perth that was really successful. So we ended up turning what was supposed to be a 4-week pop-up into, a 6-month stay. We've had stores in Brunswick as well, but we just pulled them all back, focused online, and we've always had a show space at our office and our warehouse, mainly because when we hold events, people that come to the events like to look through the range, and that's pretty much the best physical offering of the entire Itch Pig range. But as you know yourself, the wholesalers are starting to really get their hands on good parts of the range. So, I mean, these days, if you go to any of the stockists, any of the wholesale stockists, you'll get a good crack at the Itch Pig range for sure.
Yeah, I think it's rad that we've got the spot in the city. We're trying to cover, a fair amount of the range so people can sort of come in and, have now that touching is legal again, let's touch. Why not? Why wouldn't you want to touch some fabrics in a retail environment? Where did you guys, like, when you were sort of like in high school and stuff, what shops and what brands did you hit up?
Oh, it's always been Fast Times, really.
Yeah, Fast Times or PSC when it was back PSC.
Globe sales, we'd go to the Globe sales.
We rinsed those sales. Rinsed them.
Were they on Nicholson? I think they were always on Nicholson.
There was one on Nicholson. They had one on Brunswick Street. Then there was that one down in Port Melbourne. We rinsed the Globe sales a lot.
Yeah, the one they used to have near IKEA, like near their old base where the Terminus Hotel was. I remember that just being like an endless sea of Echo Unlimited. It was out of control.
We rinsed that.
And Stussy and like Dark Star and all those kinds of things.
Industries, all those labels. That was sort of what we grew up on, is just sort of those, I suppose, almost non-existent skate brands now. But
Globe's kind of
knocked them off. But we also started this thing. I was 19 and Nate, you were like 21. So right from then, for the last 10 years, it's really the only brand we've worn. Through necessity is what drives a lot of our design. So if we say we want cargo pants, we'll make them, we'll design them. If we say we want spray pants or spray jackets, we'll have to design them and come up with them. So through necessity is what drives a lot of the garment development that we go through.
And we do a lot of stuff, like, without sounding like cockheads, like, we were pretty into snowboarding. Like we got to a pretty.
Don't stuff shame yourself.
No, but
that's him. He can take that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do a lot of snowboarding, play a lot of basketball, we skate. Alex surfs. I used to surf a lot.
Try to surf. Just put that in there.
Yeah, tries to surf. It's pretty hard to do it at 97, 98 kegs.
Yeah, it's hard to do it when you're heavy.
And I mean, again, like, as all these situations kind of come about, we thought, well, let's see if we can wear Itch Pig whilst doing it, going on dates or doing this or doing that or whatever, right? So that's kind of a lot of how
I'm married. I haven't been on a date for 10 years, just to put that out there.
All right, well, he's left his date pants at home.
Dates on him as well. Dates on him.
Yes, I've always had a kid. I'm not having a date anytime soon.
True. So we shouldn't even say the word date. You know what? Delete the word date.
No censorship on the internet. We've sort of travelled up to now, but where do you guys sort of hope to see the brand? What's sort of your ideal expansion, like other countries into Japan or America, around Australia?
Yeah, I would love for, hopefully when borders open up completely, but I would love when international travellers come to Melbourne, walking away with an Itch Pig hoodie is something that they just know they have to do. They've read it on the internet. There's enough press around the brand, and it's enough of a bedrock of the Melbourne clothing culture that anyone that comes to this city knows they have to leave with an Itch Pig hoodie. That's sort of what I would love to envision in the next 5 or 10 years.
That is a good goal. That is that signifies a lot of things around it.
I just want to come here and see enough of it and be like, what is this? Everyone here is wearing it. It's obviously suited to the climate. It's obviously suited to the clothing culture here in Melbourne. I have to take this home with me to explain to people back at home, this is what people wore.
Yeah, and there's a lot of places around the world that have like that sort of thing for cultures. Yeah. Like for me, if I'm going to San Francisco, you better believe I'm getting an FTC t-shirt from like the skate shop FTC, or you know, like back sort of in the late 90s. No, it was late 90s, mid 2000s maybe. But when Undefeated just opened in LA, it was like, you know, you went there and got a t-shirt just to as a
you have to.
Yeah. So that's I like that's a that sort of achievement means a lot, that you've sort of become to one part of the culture like a tourist attraction in a way.
Absolutely. It's being globally recognized, and that's sort of that's definitely a goal of ours.
Yeah. I know when I'm in the shop and you know people come over from Perth, or a lot of people from Perth, and they're like, oh yeah, we order online, but we've always wanted to come in, and you know they load up. It's like, oh, this is part of the things you were looking forward to. That's sick. Yeah. Like it's a good thing. What about you, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we share the goal. I guess probably on top of that, with that success, is to kind of keep giving people opportunities. I really like giving people a crack at things. You know, I like, you know, saying to someone, you know, here's your little thing, grow it, you know, see what you can do with it. You know, here's an aspect of the brand that needs development that we want to kind of get into or we're interested in. Mm-hmm. Here it is, go take it and run with it. I want to give more of that opportunity to people, give people use the brand's platform to give themselves a springboard, you know. That's something I always wanted and craved at a young age when I was, you know, like 18, 19 or whatever. So I'd like to do that with other people.
I thought you were going to say sugar canes in the skate park, but that's just
I've been thinking about them a bit, but
I reckon you've got them, man. I reckon you've got them.
No one skates tranny anymore, so I'm skating street, so I've got more people to skate with. Tranny's dead, unfortunately.
Oh, not here, it's not.
No, not there, it's not. Bloody hell. That's what, yeah. Tranny's definitely not dead over there.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on the show. It's been great to finally get to meet and have a chat with you guys. I guess let the good people of the internet know where they can like follow your progress and adventures and backside lip slides on social media and web and all that sort of stuff.
Definitely on Instagram, Itchpig, ICHPIG, and our blog gets updated pretty regularly on the website. That's a really good spot to check everything out as well.
Yeah.
www.itchpig.com.
Then if you want to follow someone lifting really heavy shit, look on Air Orton on Instagram, just Air Orton. And then if you want to see someone trying to slide shit on their skateboard, just look up Jerry X Swinefeld.
Excellent. I follow with great envy of those maneuvers, and also on YouTube. If you want to see a billiard table get moved in, if you want to find out how not to do it,
watch us.
Watch it in reverse, and that's how you do it. No, that doesn't work either. Just I don't know. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us. And if you are watching, hit like on YouTube. If you're on iTunes, give us a sweet 5-star review. We've got other episodes up. One with Geraldine Hickey, Melbourne comedian that just won Best Show at the Comedy Festival. So we picked it. Danny Way, pro skater, Dilruk Jaya singer. That is all wherever podcasts and YouTubes are watched. Thank you guys so much, and see you in the shop.